There's a certain kind of peace that only true solitude can offer. I've always craved it. Not in a sad, lonely way, but more like an escape from the constant hum of modern life. Notifications, meetings, emails, sirens, traffic, people always. People. I love camping alone for that very reason. There's something spiritual about being surrounded by nothing but trees and wind. Something raw, something primal, and something thrilling. Last spring I decided to try a remote forest I'd read about on a survivalist forum. No name, no designated campsite, no trails, just coordinates. The posts were filled with warnings and praise in equal measure. Beautiful but unsettling, one user wrote. Felt watched the entire time, said another. That kind of talk only intrigued me more. I spent a week preparing tent, sleeping bag, freeze-dried meals, water filter, hatchet, stove, flashlights, knife, a weather radio, even bear spray. I wasn't foolish, just drawn to danger perhaps, or drawn to understanding it. The drive took almost 4 hours. As I left the last signs of civilization behind, no more gas stations, no more cell towers, the road became narrower, unpaved and uneven. My tires crunched over gravel and broken twigs as pine trees stretched high on both sides, swallowing the sky. There were no cars, no hikers, no signs of anyone, just nature in its untouched form. I found a clearing tucked between a grove of ancient trees, soft moss underfoot and the rustling sound of leaves overhead. It felt right. I set up my tent, unfolded a small metal table, and took a long breath of crisp air. The silence was pure. That first night was uneventful in the best way possible. I heated a small can of beans, ate slowly beside the fire, then lay on my back and stared at the stars until I drifted into my tent and fell asleep. But the forest changes at night. It hides its secrets in silence. I woke suddenly, not from a dream, not from a sound, from something else, something I still can't name. I lay still for a moment, unsure what had pulled me out of sleep. My body felt heavy, like I'd sunk into the earth itself. My ears strained. Nothing, no insects, no breeze, not even the usual creaking of trees. It was a vacuum of sound, an unnatural quiet that pressed in on me. I fumbled for my watch. 3 a.m. of course it was. I turned on my flashlight and zipped open the tent a few inches, enough to peek outside. The world beyond was thick with black. The fire had burned out, leaving only a faint pile of ash. No movement, no shapes, no threats. And yet, my skin crawled with the sensation of being observed. I scanned the trees. Nothing. I tried to tell myself it was all in my head, just an overactive imagination triggered by isolation. I forced myself to lie back down, but sleep didn't come. By morning, the fear felt silly. The sun pierced through the pines, birds chirped in the distance, and the forest looked just like it had the day before, ordinary, peaceful. I unzipped my tent, stretched my arms, and stepped out to begin the day. That's when I saw it. On the small metal table beside my tent, placed neatly in the center, was a cup of tea. Steam still rose from it. It was warm. A ceramic mug I didn't bring, white with a faded rose print on the side. Someone had taken a sip. The faint brown ring of a mouth remained on the rim. I stood frozen. The air knocked from my lungs. I hadn't made tea, I didn't even pack tea, and certainly not in a ceramic cup. My eyes darted around the campsite. My food was untouched, my backpack undisturbed. No signs of struggle, no footprints, just that mug, sitting there like it belonged. My mind raced. Had I sleepwalked? No, I don't do that. Had someone wandered through my sight? But why leave a cup of tea? I checked everything. Gear, supplies, radio, all normal, except that one thing that shouldn't be there. I didn't touch the mug. I packed in a rush, my hands trembling as I rolled my tent and stuffed it into the bag. The trees watched me. I swear I felt them leaning in, their ancient limbs creaking in amusement as I walked back toward the dirt road where my car was parked. Every twig snap felt like a footstep. Every shadow behind a tree felt still. To human. When I finally reached my car, I tossed my gear into the back and slammed the doors shut. My fingers shook as I turned the key in the ignition. But even as I drove away, I couldn't stop looking in the rearview mirror. Not for people, but for the forest itself. It didn't feel like I'd left it behind. It felt like it had followed me. The ride home was a blur. Trees, highway, gas station, coffee, none of it registered. When I finally stepped inside my apartment, I locked the door behind me and collapsed on the couch, still wearing my camp-stained jacket. I was safe now, but I didn't feel it. I kept thinking about the mug, the warm tea, the sip someone had taken. I made myself a real cup of tea that evening, as if to normalize the experience, but it didn't help. I kept glancing over my shoulder, checking the windows. That night, I dreamed of trees with eyes. They didn't speak, they just stared. I told myself I was fine, but I wasn't. Not even close. Asterisk, I lasted a week, a full 7 days of trying to convince myself that it was all a fluke, maybe a prank by a passing hiker. Maybe I was just overtired and imagined it. I stayed busy with work, avoided forests entirely, kept the lights on at night, but the feeling of being watched never left. The worst part was the silence. Not literal silence, but that internal kinda quiet dread that creeps into your bones. I kept expecting something to happen. For the mug to show up in my apartment. For someone to knock on my door at 3 a.m. for anything to explain it all, but nothing came. That's when I knew it wasn't over. I hadn't left the forest behind. I had brought something back with me, or maybe it had followed me. So against all logic and sanity, I went back. I drove back to the clearing, with clenched fists in my heart and my throat. The road was rougher than I remembered. Trees leaned in closer. The sun seemed dimmer. When I arrived at the same clearing, I didn't set up camp. I just stood there. It was exactly as I'd left it. Pine needles scattered across the ground. A circle of rocks from my old fire pit, and the faint imprint in the moss where my tent had once stood. But the table, the one I'd left behind, was gone. No mug, no footprints, no sign of anyone. I decided to stay the night, not in a tent, though. I parked my car at the edge of the clearing, locked all the doors, and reclined the seat. I kept a flashlight in one hand and a knife in the other. I didn't sleep around. 2:46 a.m. The forest changed again. The silence returned, not natural silence, but the kind that makes your ears ring. Then, the whispering started. It was so faint, I thought it was the wind, but it wasn't. It came from all around. Too synchronized, too human, but I couldn't make out the words, just hushed tones, like a group speaking in unison from the trees. I turned on the flashlight and swept the clearing. Nothing. Then the whispering stopped, and a single sound replaced it. Clink. Like porcelain touching wood. My heart dropped. I stepped out of the car and turned the flashlight slowly to the center of the clearing. There it was, the same ceramic mug. White, with a faded rose pattern. Steam rose from it. I backed away. Every part of me screamed to run, but I didn't. I approached it slowly, kneeling. I hovered my hand above it. It was warm again. I heard something behind me, a quick, soft breath. I spun around. No one, but I knew something was there. Watching. I grabbed the mug and threw it into the woods with all the force I could muster. It shattered against a tree. The whispering began again, louder, angrier. I sprinted to the car, slammed the door, locked it, and fumbled to start the engine. But the car wouldn't start. I turned the key again and again. Nothing then. Movement. Shapes among the trees, tall, thin, not animals, not human either. Just outlines darker than the night, standing perfectly still, shoulder to shoulder between the trunks. Dozens of them, watching me. I hit the horn. Nothing. The lights flickered and died. Then the radio turned on. Not music, not voices, just static. Then, through the static, a whisper: "You drank from our cup." I screamed, not words, just noise. Panic. The shapes didn't move, but the whispering grew. It filled the air like a vibration, like the forest itself was whispering. Suddenly the engine roared to life. I didn't look back. I didn't stop driving until I got home. I left everything, tent, stove, gear, back in the forest. I didn't care. I just wanted to be safe. But the mug came back. 3 days later, I found it on my kitchen table. Same one, clean. No steam this time, but I knew I threw it away. The next day it was back, in my cupboard, then on my nightstand, then in the shower. Every time I destroyed it, it returned. I started researching the forest. No name, no official trails, just legends. Stories from locals that go back decades about the silent grove, about people who went missing, about those who came back. Changed, they said. If you're offered tea in the forest, never drink it. I never did, but someone did, and they want me to join them. I don't sleep anymore. I see things in mirrors, in the corners of rooms. I hear the whispering, always at 3 o'clock a.m. I've decided to go back. Not to camp, not to explore, to end it. If you're reading this, and you ever feel the urge to camp alone in a forest you've never heard of, Dan single quotes tea. And if you find a warm cup of tea waiting for you, don't drink it, don't even touch it, because once the forest sees you, once it offers you its brew, it never lets you go. I had never camped alone before. People say there's something pure about it, being disconnected from everything and everyone. No cell service, no emails, no obligations. Just you, the trees, and silence. I thought I needed that. It was a Thursday afternoon when I left the city. I had just quit my job, burned out, anxious, tired of it all. The idea of spending a few days alone in the woods, with no one to bother me, seemed like the reset I needed. I picked a remote forest I'd only heard about through a vague Reddit thread. Not many people had gone, and the ones who did posted cryptic comments like, "You'll know if it's for you." I took that as a challenge. I drove 5 hours out, following an old forestry map I found online. Eventually, paved roads gave way to gravel, and gravel gave way to dirt tracks swallowed by pine trees. The canopy was so thick that the sunlight dimmed as early as 4 p.m. There was no cell service out here, no ranger station, no signs, just the soft crunch of my boots on pine needles. I found a perfect clearing near a creek, a small meadow hugged by massive trees, with just enough open sky to watch the stars. I pitched my tent, laid out my sleeping bag, and lit a small fire. I felt good. That night, I cooked beans, read a paperback under a headlamp, and drifted off to the sound of the wind through the trees. Peace. At last, it was the second night when things shifted. I'd hiked all day, wandered along the creek, even found deer tracks near a ridge. When I came back to camp, I felt calm and accomplished. Dinner was simple instant noodles and jerky. I watched the fire dance until the flames flickered into glowing coals, then crawled into my tent, exhausted. I don't know what woke me at first. I thought it was a sound, but when I opened my eyes, it was the absence of sound that hit me. The forest was too quiet. No rustling leaves. No frogs by the creek. No crickets. Just a heavy, dead silence that seemed to press against the walls of my tent. I checked my watch. 3 a.m. of course. I listened, my heart beginning to thump harder than I liked. Then came a low, rhythmic sound, not loud, but distinct. It was murmuring. Like someone whispering through clenched teeth. Not quite words, just noise. It came and went, like wind carrying voices between trees. I froze. Every hair on my body stood up. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then it stopped like a switch was flipped. I stayed awake until dawn, eyes wide open, hand on the knife I kept by my sleeping bag. When light finally broke through the tent, I convinced myself it was all in my head, just the wind, maybe even a dream, but I knew better the next morning. I stepped out of my tent and immediately saw it, a white ceramic mug sitting on the flat rock near my extinguished fire pit. Steam curled up from it in the cold morning air. It hadn't been there the night before. I hadn't brought a mug. I only had a metal camping cup, and it was still inside my pack. This one was different. Old, cracked, faded blue flowers along the rim. I approached it cautiously. The tea inside smelled faintly of cinnamon and herbs. I reached out and felt the side. Warm. Fresh. I jerked my hand back. Someone had been here while I slept. I scanned the ground. No footprints, no broken twigs, no sign of anyone approaching or leaving. How could someone have made it all the way here, made tea, and left without a sound? Why would they? And more importantly, why didn't they wake me up? I didn't touch the mug again. I packed everything as fast as I could. My instincts screamed that something wasn't right. I hiked faster than I ever had before, retracing my path to the car, jumping at every crack of wood or chirp of a bird. Except there were no birds, not anymore. Just the occasional whisper, always. Just behind me when I got to my car, I almost cried from relief. I tossed my pack in the back, slammed the door shut, and started the engine. But as I drove, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. Every curve in the road felt unfamiliar. Every tree too tall. The forest looked different. It felt endless. I should have hit the main road in 30 minutes, but an hour passed. Then no turns, no signs, just trees. I began to sweat. My phone still had no signal. The fuel gauge dipped. Then, finally, the trees parted and the same clearing appeared. The same one I had camped in. My stomach dropped. This was impossible. I had been driving away from it. I looked at the back seat. The mug was there. Same cracked porcelain. Same faded flowers. Still warm. I refused to get out of the car. I sat there for nearly 20 minutes, watching the trees sway with no wind, watching shadows move in unnatural patterns. The mug sat in the back seat, perfectly still, like it had always been there, like it belonged. I was shaking, but I grabbed it. I opened the door and threw it as hard as I could into the woods. It shattered. The sound echoed like a scream. A ripple of movement passed through the trees, like the entire forest shuddered in response. Then the whispering returned. No direction, just everywhere. From the treetops, from the ground, from inside me. I slammed the car door shut, started the engine, and turned around. I didn't care where I was going. I just wanted out. This time the road changed. It looked the same: dirt, tall pines, shadowy undergrowth, but something in the air felt thicker, like fog inside my lungs. My ears popped like pressure was building. I turned on the radio. I don't know why, it was static then. In the static, you're here now. My blood turned cold. It wasn't my voice. It wasn't a hallucination. It was something inside the radio. You heard us. You saw it. You drank from the silence. I hadn't touched the tea, but maybe I didn't need to. I drove 4 hours. Trees, trees, trees. Always the same bend in the road. Always. The same pale stump leaning at an angle. And then the clearing again. But this time, something had changed. There were more mugs, dozens of them. All lined up along the rock ledge. All steaming, all identical, but none were mine. The air vibrated with whispers. My ears buzzed like bees nested inside my skull. I opened the door. I don't know why. I was pulled. Drawn. Something inside me knew this wasn't just a place, it was a threshold. I stepped toward the rock and saw faces in the woods. Not fully formed, just eyes, watching, dozens of them all around. Then, from the center of the clearing, a figure emerged. Not a person, a shape cloaked in shadow. It had no face, just a smooth, reflective surface, like the surface of still water. He returned. The voice wasn't loud, it was inside me. You brought nothing, you took nothing, but you listened. The figure reached out a long, branch-like hand. In it was a mug. Warm. Steaming. Waiting. I backed away. No, I whispered. I didn't drink it. I don't want this. But my voice sounded small, weak, like it didn't matter. The trees moved. They stepped forward. Each trunk had two dark hollow holes like eyes. Each branch curved inwards like arms. They were the watchers, the ones who whisper. You were chosen because you believed you were alone. The figure said, but you are never alone here. My legs trembled. I just want to leave, I begged. Then drink. What drink? The ones who drink are given freedom. The ones who refuse, stay. I looked behind me. The car was gone, just forest, as far as I could see. I looked back at the mug in the figure's hand. The steam curled toward me like a beckoning finger. I don't remember taking it, but suddenly, the mug was in my hands, warm, comforting, smelling like cinnamon sage, and something earthy like decay held it to my lips. The forest grew quiet, every eye fixed on me. I could feel the weight of generations in that moment, of others who had stood here before me, facing the same choice. The first sip burned, not my tongue, my mind. It was like swallowing liquid memory. I saw images I'd never known, families camping, people running through the forest, others crying out as their own reflections stared back at them. I dropped the mug that didn't shatter. It landed softly in the moss and vanished. So did the figure. So did the forest. I woke up in my bed. My apartment, the city. Traffic outside, sirens, people, normal, not hot, thud, ded. Had I dreamed it all? I checked my backpack. My gear was there. My boots were muddy. But then, I looked on my kitchen counter and there it was. The mug. Still warm, still steaming, still waiting. It never leaves me. Now every night at 3 a.m. I wake to silence. Not city silence, forest silence. I look outside and the street is gone. Trees reach up to my window. Shadows move behind them, and every morning the mug returns. Sometimes on my desk, sometimes beside the bed, sometimes in my hands. The forest is patient. It lets you think you're free. It lets you go back to your life. But once you've heard the whispers, once you've been offered the brew, you're already part of it. The ones who whisper don't care if you forget them. They never forget you. I didn't want to go camping, not really. But when your 10-year-old daughter looks up at you with red eyes, cheeks wet, clutching a photo of her mother with trembling hands, there's only one answer. Okay, I said, just us. It had been 6 months since my wife Claire died. She loved camping. It was her thing, her way of grounding herself, of escaping the noise of the world. And every summer, without fail, we took a week and drove into the mountains to get lost among trees and rivers and silence. After she passed, the silence became something else. Something heavier. So when I told Ellie we were going back to that same spot, we both pretended it was for the memories, but part of me hoped it would do what it always did for Claire. Help me forget. We arrived late. The sun was melting behind the pine trees, the golden light hitting the trail just right. I parked the Jeep, and Ellie ran ahead with the tent bag like she remembered every rock and route. This is it, she said, smiling for the first time in days. The spot was perfect, nestled between thick trees with a small slope leading to a stream that babbled all night. It looked exactly the same, almost too much. We set up the tent together, roasted hot dogs and made jokes like we used to. The stars came out in clusters. Ellie pointed out constellations. She knew all the names Claire had taught her around 11. Ellie fell asleep beside me in the tent, hugging a tiny stuffed raccoon that hadn't left her side since the funeral. Stayed awake, listening to the woods, but something was wrong. I couldn't place it at first, then it hit me. There were no sounds, no owls, no wind, no insects, just silence. I woke up suddenly, I didn't know why. The tent felt colder. I checked Ellie, she was asleep, curled tight in her bag. Then I heard it, a click like someone lighting a gas lamp. Faint, outside. I unzipped the tent, slowly, heart hammering. I expected darkness, but it wasn't dark. There was a lantern hanging from a branch just 10 feet away, old-fashioned, brass burning with a strange white-blue flame that didn't flicker. No one else was out here, I know. We were miles from the nearest road, deep in the woods. And yet, the lantern swung gently in the still air. I stepped out barefoot, barely breathing. The fog was rolling in, thick, fast, curling around the trees like smoke. I backed into the tent and zipped it shut. I held Ellie close. The fog pressed against the tent walls, and I swear it, whispered. I woke to birdsong. Bright sun filtered through the trees. The tent was dry. Ellie sat cross-legged at the fire pit, poking ashes with a stick. Did you see it? She asked. I froze. See? What? The lantern, she said. The one with the blue fire. My mouth went dry. Where did you see it? Right outside. I saw it through the tent. It was pretty. I joined her at the fire and glanced around. Nothing, no lantern, no fog, no signs of anyone. But something had changed. The trees felt closer, the air heavier, the same forest, but not. Then I saw it set neatly beside the tent. A second lantern, not lit, cold, still old-fashioned, still brass. Ellie reached for it. I slapped her hand away. Don't touch that. Asterisk, I didn't sleep the next night. Every crackle from the fire, every whisper of wind made my nerves jolt. But it wasn't the usual fear. This was wrong place fear. Like the forest was watching. Like we'd trespassed somewhere not meant for us. By dawn I was ready to leave. "We're packing up," I told Ellie, "but we just got here." She pouted. "No, something's wrong." She didn't argue. We packed the tent quickly. I checked and double-checked our supplies. Our map, the GPS, everything was in order. We started hiking back toward the jeep. Only. We didn't find it. We walked in a straight line, followed the same trail, even used GPS after 2 hours. We came across something that made my blood run cold. Our camp still there, untouched, the dead fire, the tent poles, and the cold lantern beside the fire pit. I turned in every direction, holding the map. "This isn't possible," I muttered. Ellie said nothing. She stood still, staring at the trees. "Dad," she whispered. "What?" I saw. "Mom." I knelt beside her. "What?" "In the trees." She was holding the lantern. That night, I couldn't help myself. I lit the lantern. The blue flame flickered silently, casting a strange glow. The air smelled like rain, though the sky was clear. Ellie slept. I stayed up, watching. At 3:17 a.m. the fog rolled in again. Same as before, fast, thick, deliberate shapes moved in it. I stepped out with the lantern. The light cut through the mist but barely, and then I saw them, symbols on the trees carved deep, and not just one tree, dozens, all around the camp. Spiral's eyes, a woman's face, the same face, over and over. Claire, but it wasn't just a likeness. The face was screaming. I turned to run back into the tent, and saw a figure inside it, silhouetted, standing over Ellie. I charged in with the lantern, ready to fight, but Ellie was alone, sleeping, no one else. I was shaking, then a whisper right beside my ear. "You shouldn't have come back." I spun, lantern raised. No one. The fog began to seep into the tent walls again, thin and smoky. Ellie stirred. "Daddy," "It's okay, I'm here." But I knew it. T. The next day we tried again to leave again. The forest looped, but something was different. We saw a second Ellie, standing by the stream. She was pale, hollow-eyed, holding the same raccoon toy. She didn't move. When we turned, she was gone. That night, Ellie said, "I don't think this is a forest anymore." By the fourth day, time didn't work right. It would be night for an hour, then day again. The moon would appear, then vanish mid-sky sometimes. We heard birds, sometimes, voices. Ellie stopped eating. She stared at the lantern constantly, began drawing with sticks in the dirt sprawls, the screaming face. One morning I woke and the trees above us were gone. Instead, there was just a black dot, not a sky, not space, a hole, like something had erased the sky completely. I looked around, it returned blue, with clouds, but Ellie didn't look away. "I think it's watching us," she said. Through the whole that night she disappeared. Ellie was gone. One moment she was curled in her sleeping bag. The next the tent was open and fog rolled in thick as cotton. I screamed her name, ran into the woods with the lantern clutched tight in my hand. The flame burned brighter than ever, casting twisted shadows across the trees that now seemed closer, hunched, like watching figures. Ellie, no answer, only the same whispers as before, softer now, more personal. "Daddy." It was her voice. I spun toward it, but the voice came again from behind. "Daddy, over here." I followed it through the trees, down the slope, across the creek, deeper into the heart of the fog. That's when I saw her, standing in a clearing, barefoot, still in her pajamas. Ellie. But when I stepped closer, I knew it wasn't her. The thing wearing my daughter's shape smiled too wide. Its eyes glowed faintly blue. "You lit the lantern," it said in her voice. The real Ellie was nearby. I could feel it. "What do you want?" I demanded. It tilted its head. "A trade. One soul for one soul." "No," it smiled again. "Then the forest keeps you both." And the trees, they moved. They creaked like joints popping. They circled the clearing like ribs closing in. I didn't think. I threw the lantern. That struck the figure's chest and shattered. Blue fire erupted in a flash of smoke and shrieks, and the world around me burned, not in flames, but in memory. I saw Claire, holding Ellie. I saw the accident. I saw myself broken, lost, hollow, done. Silence. I woke up on the forest floor. No fog. No fog. Ellie was beside me, asleep. No lantern, no markings, just the forest, normal bird song and all. We hiked back. This time, the trail led to the jeep. We never spoke of it again. I donated all the camping gear except one thing, because 3 nights ago I found it on our porch. Od brass. Still warm, the lantern. I buried it in the yard, but last night, at 3:17 a.m. I looked outside. It was hanging from our tree, burning blue.